Welcome to Leaders Live, folks, and I'm Andrew Jenkins, and this is a short countdown timer to help the various feeds catch up with us and settle down, and just like us, because we never know whether we're going live or not. It's a heart-stopping moment. So we can't wait for today's groovy show. And in this Leaders Live, we are hanging out with my mate, MD of Astute Law, Thushara Polpitye, Tosh for short. And our theme is conversational control, right, Tosh?
It is, absolutely.
It is. The key to communication success. And, and our moderator today is Darlington Baloney, brought to you by Marketing CX, our marketing specialist. Now, he's had a few problems logging in this morning. There's a few delays his end because of load shedding and horrible stuff like that. So hopefully he'll be with us shortly. And he'll be chipping in and keeping the interaction flowing for us. So good morning, Ian Price. And music by my Uncle Peter, folks. And you know what? I think this is the 78th, 79th show, folks. So fantastic that we've all been part of this growing community that feels really exciting. And that deserves a wow. So please let me know if our audio's coming through okay as well, please. So, yeah. And here comes our sponsors video, our little opener. Brilliant. So I hope you enjoyed that little intro short jingle from your DMS after the countdown. And we are delighted, super excited that we are being powered by your DMS, our Leaders Live sponsor. Yay, whoop, whoop, big shout out for your DMS. We're so delighted about that. And your DMS, we'll learn a little bit more about your DMS as we go through the show, folks. Let me just bring on the next piece. So oi oi people and hi gang, it's the Leaders Live showtime, folks, and it's just after 8:45 here in the UK, 8:45 a.m. and we are live with Leaders Live, spreading the love, folks, spreading the love, yabba dabba do. And So, and if you're new to Leaders Live and you don't know me, as I mentioned in the countdown, I'm Andrew Jenkins, and Leaders Live is an interactive and dynamic weekly talk show that generates business through networking, community, and extraordinary conversations that inspire. So, and our motto here is I to the power of we. So, we're also, hang on, just bringing Darlington in, our moderator, 1 second. Okie dokie, that should be our moderator in. Right, so we're live streaming on multiple channels today, simultaneously, folks, today, including your DMS company page, channel, and on my all-new leaderslive.tv website. Wow, don't you just love tech? So that's hopefully it'll all hanging together. And if you can't catch us on live or the replay, fear not, my friends, because we've got you covered, because we go out on podcast too. Is there no end to this show? And we'd love you to support us, folks, and for all the effort that goes into producing this free show. So if you want to support us, you can show your gratitude to that to buy me a coffee too, folks. Yay. And you get a shout out on the folks too. And the link is buy me a coffee, all one word, buymeacoffee.com/Leaders Live. Even more better, folks. There's now an all new QR code. You can see it somewhere on the screen there. That we've added, so it makes it really easy, and you get a shout out on the show, folks. It looks a bit like this, so you get one of these that comes up with your name. Yay! So that's brilliant. Just a bit of fun, and thanks last week to my mate Dr. Ian Price for his coffee. So interactive show, folks. Back to the show, and as I've said, it's interactive, especially with this conversation today on conversation skills. So so please get involved, join in, ask questions, network. Pop some comments into the feed as you're already doing, and even a little bit of friendly banter for you regulars. Lead the way, show how we roll. And also Smash those likes too, folks. We'd really appreciate that. Ding! And it keeps us motivated too. So please follow our company page on LinkedIn, subscribe to our Leaders Live YouTube community for all updates too. And the link will be in the comment chat that will be in the comment chat shortly when it gets popped in by Darlington. So yeah. So put it all together. What have you got? Bibbity, bibbity, bobbity, boo. There we are. So a quick shout out to good morning, Stephen Brand. Good morning, Dr. Ian Price. My mate, good morning, Tilly Davis, Kathy Heath. Hello to my favourite people. Two of my favourite people. Oh, there you go. Good morning, Stephen Brand. Good morning, Santosh. Good morning, Cooper. Joe Cooper, Mateus, good morning from the Czech Republic today. He's our resident nomad, digital nomad. And Darlington, Darlington's now online as well. So we'll bring Darlington in a moment. So here we go. So let's bring in this week's Leaders Live guest, hangout guest, Tosh from the MD of Astute Law. And today's theme is conversational control, right? The key to communication success. Ooh. How you doing, Tosh?
Real good, really good.
Real
Thank you
good.
for having me on this, Andrew. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. That's absolutely. So where are you taking us today, Tosh? Tell us where you're taking us.
You know, we were talking about this before the show, Andrew, about, what's the not just law, but what are the things we've sort of learned in our walk through life in different ways, whether it's personally, whether it's professionally.
Yeah.
And one thing I've always thought of is that effective communication. How to communicate in a way to get whatever your desired outcomes are is essential. And understanding that there are patterns in the way that we talk, or the way that we think, or the way that we structure things, and recognizing those patterns and how they are seen from different perspectives. What you're saying isn't necessarily what's being heard. I was watching this thing on Facebook, actually. It was about public speaking, Andrew. And the guy said, if you want to learn how to do public speaking, he goes, record yourself on your phone, right? Then what you do is you turn the phone the other way and just listen to the sound. And you'll go, I don't sound like that. Then what you do is you flip it the other way around, turn the sound down, and just watch yourself for a minute recording. Do I look like that? I have those facial tics. That's weird. So, how you come across and how you think you come across can differ massively. So the art of effective communication in whatever, whether it's a job promotion, whether it's negotiating, whether it's talking with your other half, we're always negotiating.
That's definite big skill stuff, that.
It's key. Effective communication, no matter what your job is, no matter what you're doing in life, if you're able to master that, if there's such a thing as mastering communication, then you are going places.
I like that. Master communication control. So we're kind of heading to, what is conversational control? What does it mean? And why is it important to business leaders and entrepreneurs? So is that kind of where we're heading then, Tosh?
Yeah, the question itself sounds quite manipulative, doesn't it? Control,
puppets on a string, right?
yeah, exactly. But I think, what is the purpose of controlling the conversation? And it isn't actually controlling the conversation, it's controlling the outcome.
Yeah, or it's controlling yourself, right, rather than controlling the other person as well.
Correct. I mean, presumably you're engaging in a conversation with a purpose, unless you're just chit-chatting. If you're just chewing the fat, then that's fine. But if there's a purpose and there's an outcome, then there needs to be a clear understanding of how are you going to navigate to get there.
How are you going to navigate?
And most people don't do that in the right way.
Okay. So that's what we're going to find out, is the right way of how we do that, or some of the right ways, because it's a big topic, right? Yeah. So, there we go. I think that deserves a. There we go, Tosh. Right, we're going to get the interaction kicking off, Tosh. So, kick us off with with a question. We've got a question for the audience. Have you got that to hand, or do you want me to say it for you?
Read it out for me, please, Andrew. Yes.
Okay, there we go. Because we like to put you on the spot, you see.
You would do that, yeah.
We do that in conversational control. So here we go. So there is no one answer here, but what do you think is meant by conversational skills? What are they to you? So there's no one answer here. What do you think is meant by conversational control skills? Question. And, what are they to you? So there's a couple of questions. Hopefully that'll come in the feed in a moment when Darlington puts it in the feed for us. So I don't know what's happened to Darlington at the moment, so I'll just ditch him out the feed at the moment. We seem to be struggling with with our moderator this morning, coming from South Africa. Okay, so answers on a postcard, please. So, yeah, and we've just got a quick question while we're waiting for the feed to come up. Quick question, Tosh: Are you in control of? Are you in control of this conversation with Andrew? There you go. Oh, brilliant! There we are. There's Graham Rose. Good morning, Graham Rose. Brilliant. Oh, I like that too. Fantastic.
I can answer that question, Andrew, if you like.
Yeah, you can answer that question. Please do.
So what it depends now what we're talking about controlling the conversation, right?
Yeah.
So if I'm looking to achieve what is my desired outcome in this process, is presumably to get some messages across to help or everybody that's watching this now or watching the recording to do better in their lives, get the objectives that they're looking for, get the desired outcomes. So if I achieve that, have I controlled the conversation? Or has Andrew kind of helped me along so we've collaborated to get that outcome for the benefit of you as the audience?
Yeah.
So it's a bit of a tricky question, right, in that sense. But I'm going to say yes and no as a result, because if I get the outcome, I've controlled it. But actually, I can't have done it without Andrew. So
yeah, so it's about collaboration, isn't it, and steering the conversation effectively, isn't it? Yeah, and all of those things.
Understanding, isn't it, Andrew?
Yeah. And there's
If we're
loads of
on the same page, we're going to get to that outcome. If we're on a different page, then we're just not going to get there.
Yeah, so there's a whole load of stuff coming in the feed. We'll pick up those right in just a few moments. Just back to you in a tick, Tosh. Just give you just a quick second rest for a moment. Just going to introduce our wonderful moderator, if we can see him hopefully in the room. There he is. Darlington, how you doing?
I am very well, thanks. And how is everybody doing?
We're doing very well. We just caught you on the hop, right? It's great to see you, Darlington.
Okay, so right now everyone can hear me, right?
Yeah, we can all hear you. Very clear and actually coming across loud and clear. There you go. So Darlington dialing from South Africa. He's our moderator, and I'm sure you'll make him feel welcome. He's our trainee moderator, and he's managing all the interactions for us and comments for us. So because Leaders Live is an interactive show, please join in. Don't be shy and use the comments for these questions and engage. And Darlington will pick them all up for us. So, yeah, thank you, Darlington. That's brilliant. Let me just bring up the side by side. We'll see you in a moment. And so this week, we're also trailing our new intermission slot again. We're going to do an executive briefing instead of the Get to Know You in 5 slots. And the halfway interlude will be Tosh, with Tosh, telling us about his legal business, Astute Law, and also sharing a very short executive briefing on what's relevant in employment law right now at the moment. We'll come back to that at the halfway point, folks, just so you know, when we shout out our fabulous sponsors. So back to Tosh again. Let's just bring Tosh in the guest scene. Here we go. So, yeah, back to you again, Tosh. I'll just zoom you in a little bit more. There we go. So I think we need a round of applause for you. Yay, there you go. You'll be clearing up this confetti for ages. Hope you like the groovy build-up, Tosh. Yeah, there you go. Hope you like the groovy build-up. Feel the love, Tosh. Feel the love. Let's just bring back the executive scene. So what's in the comments, Darlington? What's going on in the comments?
All right. In the comments, we have Mr. Soveric says, Darlington, to me, conversational control skills means that you are able to listen, lead the conversation, and collaborate with others through efficient communication.
Right. Who was that again? Sorry. Just trying to find that comment. Matthias. Fantastic. Thank you. Morning, Matthias.
Yes.
Lovely.
And then we also have Cecil. Says, good morning, all.
Good morning.
Oh, good morning, all.
Okay.
And then we also have Laurie. She says,
Laurie.
making sure everyone has a chance to contribute to the conversation. I don't know if it's getting the outcome you want. I may want the outcome of a conversation to be a decision on XYZ, but we didn't get there. But we made progress towards it and we collaborated. And sometimes you need to control the audience to get that much done.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Darlington. Yeah. Don't know whether you could move your screen a bit nearer to the camera so we can see you while you're talking. That would be great. But yep, thank you for that. And we get something from Jonas as well, Darlington?
All right. From Jonas. All right, Jonas commented earlier on. I did not see that one, but he says, Matthias, luckily it is not quite so bad in Denmark. we do have some days where we almost see the sun. My 3-year-old son often asks me where the sun is gone, almost like in a dystopian movie.
Ah, right. Okay. So that's in response to the daylight disappearing in winter, I take it. So, yeah. And we've got Stephen Brand here saying, listening with intent, positive intent to reach the outcome. Fantastic. Yeah. What say you, Tosh?
Yeah, I totally agree. You know that there's no. I hate saying this. There's no wrong answers. There are obviously some wrong answers somewhere, but they're not in this chat. They're absolutely right. You know, you have some purpose in mind. It might not go there, and then it takes a different shape. But then that means your outcome can change according to whatever the circumstances are. But really, really, obviously, everybody here is right on track.
Yeah, great. And Joe Cooper says this: the ability to hold a conversation, listening, hearing, and engaging. Yeah, absolutely. And good morning, Samira. Listening to help the individual. Oh, I like that. Very good. Yeah, this is one of your mates, I take it, Samira.
Yes, that's right. Yeah,
Sorry, I just dropped my pen.
Two books I go on about, and I think we're going to address those a bit later on, Andrew. One of them is The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey.
Yeah, brilliant book.
What he says in there is, as an effective habit, is seek to understand before you seek to be understood.
Yeah, here we go. There it is.
Yeah, that's it. There you are.
Yeah.
And so the understanding where the other person is coming from first, before you just blurt it out from your perspective, means you already have you have an advantage in the situation in the sense of, okay, oh, that's the way they see it. And then when you see it the way they see it, there might be an adjustment. You know, the fundamental.
Hey, I've got a coffee. Thank you, Laurie, for a coffee. That's brilliant. 5 coffees. Wow.
Wisdom.
Yeah. I'm so delighted about that. Thanks, Laurie. We got our first coffees. Thank you very much, Laurie. Brilliant. Yeah. So sorry, you were saying, Tosh, and we rudely got interrupted by coffees.
Not at all. It's just seeking to understand before you seek to be understood. And by adopting that, there's an adjustment, because if you see, the fundamental issue with miscommunication is failing to understand the story behind the other person's conversation.
Yeah.
Well, what they're saying isn't what they're really saying. There's always a story that's going on. Their why, what's behind it, right?
And yet we can pick that story up, right? I think, little things like cues and clues in the conversation, that what might be said might not actually be what's meant, or there might be more to it if only we dig in, which is why we need to really listen, right? As Stephen said earlier.
Listen, all the things I've said, it's exactly right. Yeah. So that's all part of it. It's like a poker game in one sense, except everybody's showing their hands. Let's see exactly what we're dealing with, what we're playing with here. Yeah. All right, that's where you're coming from. And as soon as people shift, and that's what mediation is often about, where you get to a point where people are communicating effectively, you just see it from the other person's shoes. Yeah. If you get to that, that's where you avoid things like lawyers getting involved and court cases and disputes, right? Yeah. People becoming really sort of engrossed in their stance, in their position. I'm right. And then actually, I didn't see it that way before. And that's where there's a shift.
And that's all about context. That's all about absolutely context. Slowing the conversation down to understand the context. Get those little subtle things out. We'll come back to that in a moment. Dr. Ian Price, our mate, says, conversation skills here to help framework and hold the conversation so that there is respect and the ability to talk about the things you need to talk about. Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody's got their own framework. And one of the key elements I was mentioning earlier is it's a little bit like getting in a car without a destination. That's just chewing the fat. You're just going and then seeing where it goes. See how it goes, right? That phrase?
Yeah.
I don't like that, see how it goes. That you can help significantly increase the chances of seeing where it goes by taking certain steps, using certain types of language. So, we all have our different styles. So the car analogy I gave you, if I give you the coordinates to my house, I don't mind how you get here. You can walk, you can come by car, you can ask directions, you can use the phone sat nav. It doesn't really matter. You've got to go your own way. I can suggest a way. I can suggest the fastest and most effective way as I see it. But given the differences in how we might see the world, we've got to appreciate it. That doesn't really matter. You've got to go through the way you've got to go through the way that suits you. But that outcome is still the same.
Yeah. So yeah, you want the same outcome, but how you get there doesn't really matter, is what I think is what you're saying, and that's the key to part of
Yeah,
conversational
because
control
some
as
will
well.
take longer than others.
Yeah.
Some think slowly, some think fast. It's just the different traits that we all have and how we will deal with any situation.
Yeah, I'm just looking at some of the feed here. Dr. Inspire says, love that pithy sum up at Stephen Brand. Lovely. That was about listening, I think, where Stephen's comments. Let's just bring Stephen's back again. Listening with intent, positive intent to reach the desired outcome. And I think that's what you're just saying as well. And
Yeah.
there's some banter going on in the feed around about rain and gloomy days in the winter. So Matteo says, Jonas, in my hometown Bergen, we are famous for rain with 250 rain days each year. We always say God loves Bergen so much that he lets it rain and keep the city clean. There you go. I don't know what that's to do with conversation, with the conversation control, but there we go. So
They're controlling that conversation.
there's always lots of stuff going on in the feed. Morris, good morning, Morris Pentel. Try the book Talk by Liz Stokio is remarkable. That sounds really interesting. I will look that up. I don't know whether Darlington, you can find that in the feed at all. From Amazon or whatever. Or Morris, if you've got that handy, then pop the link into the feed. Probably easier than Darlington doing it at the moment. Yeah, and Graham says this, in many ways, effective communication begins with mutual respect, communication that inspires, encourages others to do their best. Zig Ziglar. There we go. And let's just bring Darlington. I think Darlington's back in the room again now. So a few little hiccups. Where are we? So what else is going on in the feed, Darlington?
All right, in the feed we have. I was just trying to get the book by
No problem. Don't worry, we'll
Liz
find that.
Tocco. All right, so we have Graham. He says, in many ways, effective communication begins with mutual respect, communication that inspires, encourages others to do their best.
Zig
This is
Ziglar.
a quote from Zig Ziglar.
Yeah, that's
Then we
right. We
have
just had that.
Dr. Ian. It says, like Stephen Covey says about the problem is not the problem. The problem is how we or they see and so talk about the problem. This is very deep. There's some depth to this. And then Morris says, remember, the second we say it, we change our minds. And then
very good. Very good.
Absolutely. And then we have Jonas says, to control a conversation, I often plan how I want the conversation to go. Very smart. Especially when meeting via Zoom or similar programs where it is more challenging to read body language. Absolutely. This is very smart. I like this one.
Yeah, smart.
Then we have Laurie. She says, another really good book, two actually, is The Culture Map by Erin Meyer. Worth the read if you have to control conversations with people from cultures other than your own.
Very
nice.
good. Like that. Thanks, Laurie. Very useful.
Nice. And then we have Morris says, Liz is one of the most influential conversations experts in the world, and she has done some videos that are worth checking out. Yeah,
Thanks,
I'm
Morris.
going to post you guys some of these links very, very soon, so you can expect that. And then we have Dr. Ian says, love that, Tosh, about invitation to navigate to you as they want. This is part respect, part invitation, and part allowing others to give you something different. Dare we say, better too. Love it.
Love it. There you go. Thanks, Darlington. Brilliant. So let's just bring Tosh back. Oh, and we've got one more. Here we go. This is what shout out for you, Darlington. Graham Rose. I love Darlington's enthusiasm. He communicates with passion. There you go.
Thank you. It's all thanks to Tilly. Finally, I've got internet connection. My laptop was acting up. But hey, I'm here now.
Rocking and rolling. Well done. Brilliant. Okay. So, Tosh, today's topic, we're picking up conversation control and what it's all about. And I guess many people might jump to the conclusion we talked about earlier that it's not about manipulating people, right? It's not about controlling others. It's very different from that, as we've just been talking about. So it's not that, is it? But enlighten us. you talked a little bit about outcomes and things, but what else is conversational control to you? What does it mean? Why is it important for us as business owners? Why do we need to pay attention to our conversations, Tosh?
Control has so many
Mm,
connotations with that word, doesn't it? Perhaps the better word is influence. Uh,
influence, like it.
and influencing who? Influencing your employees, influencing your managers, influencing your boss. What do they need to see, hear, and feel to be influenced to agree or be aligned with the direction of your conversation or what you're thinking or what you're doing?
Yeah,
Alignment, great word, right?
right.
So how do we influence people? When we negotiate on the street or with our wife or husband or partner, or whether it's with our children, oh, I don't know what to do or what have you. And a lot of it, how you influence, also how it's received. You know what it is. Sometimes, you might say something to your children, Andrew, and they're not listening. I'll say exactly the same thing. I have no relationship with them. Oh, but it's coming from Tosh. Somehow there's some different credentials, but the message is the same. So it's who it is, and it all comes again with the why. Oh, your daughter might say, "Oh, it's dad." Come on, dad.
Yeah, come on,
She doesn't
Dad.
have that. She
Yeah.
doesn't have that with me. So it would be a different thing. So understanding how it's received, the best way to influence somebody. To again, it's all for a greater good. It's certainly not anything that is negative. Is the best thing. Although you can do that in negative situations as well. One of the situations we deal with in my profession, Andrew, as you can probably imagine, is toxic employee situations.
Yeah, of
Well, it
course.
doesn't have to be horrible. It doesn't have to
Mm,
be a character assassination. Sometimes people just aren't the right fit where they are. So how can we, but they won't feel like that. They feel like they're getting kicked out. So how
mm,
do we influence them to see it's not that? Which is what most people would think. Well, it's
mm,
by taking steps to show them that it's not that. Such as, for example, we can help them find another job. I mean, what does that say about that company? That's something to talk about. They didn't just get rid of me. They helped me go into another job. It wasn't the right fit. And most people will know. So
mm.
that's just one example, and negotiations in my profession, again, if we're talking with other solicitors, lawyers love over lawyering. Look how clever I am. But they forget what it's actually about. It's about the client. So what
Mm.
do we need to do to influence the lawyer who has some influence over the client to see that's in their best interests? We can go all day long. I'm sure you can give me some examples, Andrew. Where have you used your skills to influence in business or personally?
Yes, thank you. Yeah, really interesting question. There's loads going in the feed as well, which I'll come back to in a moment. But for me, I think one of the important things that's underrated often or just not really thought about, and we all talk about listening, right? We talk about, listen to the words that people are saying, but are we really listening? And for me, conversational control it's more than just what's being said out of people's mouths. It's about the tone. It's about what particular words might have been intonated that mean there's obviously something about that word that person has underlined in the conversation just through an intonation, may have just sort of expressed that word a little bit more. What was it about that word? And it's having those sort of social skills, if you like, or the sensory acuity is an NLP word that's often used here, to pick up those intonations, facial expressions, body language, what's going on with people's hands. They might be saying one thing, and yet they're suddenly crossing their arms, and what does that mean? People leaning forward, people leaning back. It might mean nothing, but it might mean something.
Yeah.
And those little things for me are the little giveaway statements that I call them clues and cues. People give clues. People give cues, and it's up to you to pick up that as a clue. Actually, there might be something going on in this conversation, because my belief is that people give you everything you need to know. It might not come out of their mouth, but they give you everything that you need to know about what they're exactly as you just said, what you're seeing, hearing, and feeling. What are you picking up? Because sometimes what's coming out of what what they're saying isn't always what they really mean. And so just watching these sort of gestures, giveaway statements, picking up on strong feelings, whether they're negative or positive. If people are using very emotive words, why are they using those words? What's going on for them? So it's picking into the conversation to really understand it. And when you start to do that, what I notice is that two-way conversation starts to build, because funnily enough, when you start to attend to these things, you start to build trust with that person, because you're really, really listening. And things like picking up when people are stressed, they're under pressure, when they're vulnerable to achieve something. If you just ignore that sort of stuff, particularly as a leader, as a boss, and you're not picking up those signals from your from the person working with you, actually you're not going to get a very good response. Not really. They might give you lip service, but really what's going on? Picking up doubts and concerns, those things, Tosh, those are important to me. So that's the answer to that question from my point of
poignant,
view.
Andrew. So
Yeah.
poignant. And it's about being present.
Yeah.
Really taking
Present,
a genuine interest in there, you know. And I use this phrase a lot about language shapes behavior. You know, when somebody, you know, what happens when somebody asks you how you do? You all right? How's it going? Fine, good. You do that with your kids, right?
Yeah,
How's
fair to middling.
good?
Yeah.
You know, so it's like a song, good. But you know, one time when there was a particularly tricky part in my life, I'd lost somebody close to me,
Oh yeah.
and somebody didn't ask me. They didn't know about it. They didn't ask me, you know, how you doing? How's work? They said, "Are you happy?"
Yeah.
I was just, hi, Josh, nice to see you. Are you happy? And a little lump came in my throat, you know,
Yeah.
because the language triggered something that I was used to, ready for something else, and I started talking to them about what was actually going on and what have you. See what a simple change of a question creates a redirect in the recipient, and they start opening up. And I think how you do that with your people. Don't look at your people as employees. Look at the whole person. You know, what is their life? Not what are they just contributing from 9 to 5. Who are they? You know, what are their interests? What do they want to do?
Who are they really? Yeah.
You know, what are the kids' birthdays? Little things make up the ingredients to the cake. It's not just the cake that matters, you know?
Did you all get that? The little ingredients that make up the cake. Tosh, those are little truisms. Let me just give you a break for a minute. I think this might be Guy. I'm not sure. It comes up as a LinkedIn user. We need Tosh to write that book. Write that book. And then Tilly joins in and says, yeah, Tosh, write that book. Because actually Joe sums it up really well there. There should be a Toshy daily mantra. Absolutely. I love that. There you go. A lot of love in the room for you, Tosh. Fantastic.
Yeah, thank you. That's really sweet.
And Laurie says this, and frustrates perennials across the globe. I don't quite know what that means. Have I misunderstood
Parents. Must be parents, Andrew.
Yeah, it must be parents across. Yeah, absolutely. Parents. I can see it now. There it is. Yep, there it is. So let's just bring Darlington back in again to finish the comment. So, sorry, Darlington, you're back in line again now. Fantastic. Yeah, thanks for the link, by the way. Well done. You put the link in the feed, so I know you were looking for that. So what else is going on in the feed? Finish us off.
All right. We also have Dr. Ian says, how about we write a book, Tosh? Lawyer and neuroscientists talk about talking. I mean, everyone is in agreement that Tosh needs to write this book. We want this book now. We're going to post this link, so please, we want this book. And then we have Matthias says, I never liked the word influence. It sounds very negative, almost evil to me.
Okay.
Kind of like manipulating others, you know what I mean? I prefer to use have an impact on others, more positive and genuine vibe. I like this.
That's really,
like this.
You know, Matthias is our resident super smart guy, and he comes out with some amazing comments. And because I do like the word influence, actually. However, I can see, I can see where you're getting from there. And I've never thought about it like that, actually, Matthias. That, you know, actually, it's the impact we have on others and positive and genuine.
It's it, doesn't it, Andrew? About how the same word can have a different impact in how you see the world and what you're thinking about it. I use the word influence, and it's like I'm influencing. We're using influence, manipulating. Better. Same word. Interesting.
And isn't it interesting that we talk with and the topic right now is about language that shapes our behaviours, right? And Matthias has just picked up a beauty there. So the impact we have on others. All right, we need to take that away. I think that's really good. That actually. Carry on, Darlington.
All right, Matthias says, Darlington, thank you so much. Matthias, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And then we have Dr. Ian says, Andrew, that's more holistic listening.
Yeah.
I think it was Bernard Shaw said that we leak, or I think he meant we lack truth.
No, we leak the truth. He's right, Darlington. I love that expression. Yeah, and that's, absolutely. Right. Yeah, and it's picking up on those things, which is all about conversational control from my perspective. So, yeah, very interesting. Yeah, we leak the truth. Love that. Yeah.
Lovely. Then we have Joe Cooper says, agree, Andrew. Body language is a great key. I believe the eyes and facial expressions give lots away too. Absolutely, absolutely. She also says, "Are you happy? Excellent. I'm going to use that." And then we have Matthias one more time says, "Very interesting, Andrew. From experience, I have been to meetings where the boss was speaking to employees about how to solve an existing problem, but every in innotation, every word and the body language being used places the problem in the hands of the employees and refuse to listen to any suggestions peoples were coming with. Even though never said directly, the decision was made before the meeting started."
Yeah.
Something that affected the vibe present and not a good outcome of the meeting.
Yeah. So that complete manipulate, brilliant example there. How
Mhm.
often have we all been in meetings like that, folks? Where actually what's said is really just, this is what you've got to do, and it's not really facing up to the problem. It's just saying it's your problem, not my problem. So yeah, brilliantly said. Thank you for that, Matthias.
That was brilliant.
Yeah, that
And
was
then
it.
we have
Yeah.
Jack.
Oh, morning,
Jack
Jack.
Wright.
Great to have Jack on the show. Our sponsor, your DMS. Fantastic.
Lovely. Jack says, "I believe you know almost immediately whether you like them or
Yeah.
how someone presents themselves has also a big factor in my opinion." Absolutely agree with that one as well.
There's something
And
about
then
authenticity coming out here, Darlington, isn't there? And Tosh, what do you think? There's this whole thing about conversational control is getting to the real nub of what's going on and being truthful, right? And maybe part of the dance of the conversation is actually, and it is a dance, isn't it? It's this has been said, but what's really been said and meant, and getting to the nub of the dance, getting to the real moves of what it's all about, because that's the authentic thing. What say you, Tosh?
I mean, there's a couple of things that were mentioned there.
Mm,
How quickly do people make assessments in the first time you meet them? Is it 7 seconds? I'm probably making that up. Might be even shorter. And how much of communication is non-verbal? I know that changes too, but the last I
mm,
remember, it was about 93% was non-verbal and 7% was verbal. 93%. So if you know how to read that person and what's really going on, the ticks or look and
yeah,
listen and
yeah.
really be in the moment, you're really going to understand something else that might be going on here. That's certainly relevant for, again, I keep bringing things to employee situation, but it doesn't have to be that. Anybody that's coming to you with a complaint or a grievance or something they're unhappy about, in whatever context, if you really listen and look at the way they're behaving and seeing what's going on, is it aligned with what's coming out of their mouth,
Yeah.
or what's really going on? Tell me more. Tell me
Tell me
more.
more.
What's the
Yeah, I
problem?
like that.
And
Tell me
also,
more.
what happens is
Mm,
when somebody raises a complaint to an issue without a solution, it's just a complaint without saying what do you want. And a lot of times people don't know that. So again, it means directing it towards an outcome. What is it you're looking for as an outcome? It
mm.
changes the way that person thinks. It's a pattern interrupt. So absolutely, I think we all need to look at not just what's coming out of our mouth and the words that we're using, but does that match up with the way we're coming across?
Yeah, love that. Yeah, well said. Yeah, very nice. There's some lovely comments coming too as well. Let's just pick some of these up before we move on to the next thing. So just bear with me. So, Darlington, I think there's Samira Kakali has got some, I think. Can you pick those up?
So we have Samira Kakali says, "I agree with Tosh. A friend recently asked me if I was happy today, and it made me open up on how I had been feeling as well as how I felt that day. A phrase which has impact, and I'll certainly be using it going forward."
Yeah, thanks,
Ah,
Samira. Very useful. I heard someone say the other day, look, when you ask someone, how they're feeling, and they answer, well, yeah, good. Then you ask again, well, how are you really feeling? And then you get to the nub of things. So
mm,
sometimes we've got to ask twice, particularly with men, actually, because we just give off that trite answer. We're feeling good, and I think this is something
Yes.
that Jack picks up. Darlington, is that something that Jack picks up there?
yeah, definitely. He says, instead of asking, "How are you?" which most say, "I am good,"
Ah, there you go.
ask what their ideal day looks like. You can find out so much about someone based on their interests and what drives them. Love it.
Love it. Yeah, nice one. Yeah, carry on,
Can I,
Darlington.
can I Can I perhaps
Yeah, go for it. Jump in.
I asked something with my kids. I didn't ask them how the day went. I didn't ask them how's school because I'm going to get that answer right.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. What did you do?
Come on,
Nothing.
tell me. Fine. So I'll tell them. I ask them, tell me 3 things you learned today.
Yeah. Nothing. Nothing.
Tell me
nothing.
Good. No.
Can't remember.
But you know what? You just start to get them into engage or something. Well, tell me about
Yeah.
something. Tell me good that happened today. It just creates a different type of engagement than just the standard questions. And I think we're all learning that it's the questions, the powers in the questions, and the way, again, the language.
Yeah, the powers in the question, isn't it? And asking good questions, open questions, not just closed questions. Yeah. So, Darlington, yeah.
And then we have Caroline Saedi.
Morning,
this is
Caroline.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
She says, how about messaging conversation and how this can be misinterpreted?
Yeah.
No body language or facial expression. Does Tosh have any comments about this? I've started sending voice messages as love receiving these instead of written ones.
How about messaging conversation? Yeah.
So read the question again.
It says, sorry, let me just get to that again. Go on, Darlington, read it out.
Okay, she says, how about messaging conversation and how this can be misinterpreted?
We got it.
No body language or facial expression. And then she says, does Tosh have any comments about this? I've started sending voice messages as love receiving these instead of written ones.
Perfect. Yeah, what say you, Tosh? I've got some ideas on this, but what say you?
Have you ever seen those probably on Facebook where there's a quote by Morgan Freeman?
Yeah.
And do you know that when you read it out, you're reading out with his voice?
Yes.
Somebody pointed that out. I thought, oh my gosh, I am.
Yeah.
Because you know what they're saying. You know the way he's saying it. Texts, emails, massively open to misinterpretation. You know, the wrong capitals. Are you shouting? Oh no, I just pressed caps lock. So absolutely, you have to be more delicate, more careful with it. You don't pick up the tone of voice where you pause, where you emphasize certain words, or the gesticulation. Obviously, text messages as well, wholly open to different interpretations when you're saying what's going on or what was meant or what do you mean. You know, text messages should be more about bullet point things rather than conversations, really, because they're so open to misinterpretation. Certainly, I've seen emails done that way when in tribunal cases and that sort of stuff. So know what the purpose of the messaging is. I suppose it's because you can't talk to that person, but it shouldn't be the crux or the core of a conversation you're trying to have. It's all right if it's a shopping list, you know what I mean? But apart from that, I generally wouldn't have long conversations by text.
Yeah, I agree. Pick up the phone, folks. Pick up the phone. It takes ages to craft an email. Sometimes just pick up the phone, particularly if it's a slightly difficult conversation, slightly awkward. Pick up the phone, folks. It's so much easier, and you can get so much.
One flip on that is what I tend to do is have a conversation and then confirm that in writing.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, so it's clear then, right?
Yeah, correct. Because then there's no meandering, is it?
Correct.
You know what lawyers love to do is long lawyer letters. If I write one, they're going to write me one back.
That's
Let's
how
have
Tosh
a
gets
grown-up
paid.
conversation first. Yeah. And then we can start writing out because you've already made some headway. Sorry, I just wanted to get that.
No, totally. I like the way you've said that. There's some great. That's a great tip, isn't it? Look, have the conversation verbally, but then follow up with these were the 3 points we discussed. So you've got some clarity in the outcome or what's going to happen next, etc. Love that idea. Cecile also says this, Darlington. Can you read this out for us?
Yes, so Cecile says, assumptions are also a big influence in articulating a conversation, adding a pinch of judgmental thinking, and it can go to a wrong direction.
Gosh, yeah, spot on. Break those assumptions, folks. Yeah. So what do you say, Tosh, on assumptions? I'm a big one on breaking assumptions.
You know what I'm going to say? It's you assume you make an ass out of you and me.
Oh, did you get what he just did there, folks? Say that again, Tosh, so we just get that.
When you assume you make an ass out of you and me.
There you go.
Absolutely. Again, don't assume. Seek to understand before you seek to be understood.
Yeah.
All back to the same principles.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
What else, Darlington?
Then we have Jack. He says, 100%. I learned that from kids. Completely throw them with different questions, or I just say, no worries, if you haven't done anything all day, I'll come into school tomorrow and address that. this is, this
That's
is
going to
very,
influence.
very interesting.
Oh, brilliant! I like that. That's one of my
And then,
mates was threatened his daughter. Said, "I hate wearing skirts," and he just went upstairs and changed into a skirt and said, "Come on, I'll walk you to school. You got a skirt on." So clearly embarrassing, but there you go.
Embarrassing that
yeah.
there's so much influence in that power, Andrew.
Isn't there too much influence? Far too much. Yeah. Carry on, Darlington.
And then we have Joe Cooper. He says, "My husband thinks I'm bonkers because I can hear people's voices when I read a comment from them. Also, if I have a TV on mute, I know what they sound like."
There you
This is very interesting. I love this.
go. Yeah, brilliant, isn't it? Yeah.
And and then we have Laurie Hells says, "My favorite is when a boss told me he didn't like the tone of my emails. What he didn't like were the facts in my email. I roll."
Yeah, very good.
Like the tone of your email.
Very good. Yeah. Very good, very good. Okay, yeah, and I think Mateus just says, excellent, Andrew, open questions are key. And then we've got Tilly Davis. We play high and low. What is your high or low today? I like that. That's a good one, Darlington. Is that what you play with? Does Tilly do that with you guys then, does she? Because Tilly's your boss, isn't she?
Yeah, definitely. We do play that once in a while,
Yeah.
but it's a very interesting one to.
Yeah, what are the highs and lows of the day? That's great. I like that. That picks up a lot of stuff, doesn't it? A lot of nuances. That's a great idea. I like that. Spending time doing this sort of stuff. So there we go. Look, we're going to give you a quick break now for a little while. We're going to go to intermission mode. It's just for a little while where we pick up the Your DMS executive briefing with a newsflash with you, Tosh. So, but just give yourself a break for a minute. So this is intermission slot, folks. We're just going to go into a different mindset just for a moment. So we're roughly at the halfway point. Well, we're well over actually, and we're going to do something a bit different for 5 minutes, so we can shout out our sponsor via Your DMS and the executive briefing, and also give Tosh a little bit of love for what he does for Astute Law as well. So, just with no further ado, let me just play the little jingle that goes with this. Don't you just love that? I love that. So a bit about our sponsors, Your DMS. Your DMS are specialists in document management solutions, folks, with over 20 years of experience in the document management, the DM industry. And at Your DMS, they say our knowledge and ability to translate and deliver technology to simplify the way organizations work has been proven time and time again. And that's great. And effective time and time again. And as we make them more efficient, says Jack Wright, sales director of Your DMS, who's on the line today, we can also save them money and enhance their engagement with their customers and their suppliers. How cool is that? And in this slot, we hang out with our guest, Tosh, to briefly share with us a very short executive briefing or a newsflash on a hot or relevant business topic that's going on at the moment. And for Tosh, that's in the legal space. And in Tosh's everyday working life, he is a lawyer, and as well as the MD of Astute Law. So in a minute, tell us about Astute Law, Tosh, and how you can help people. Let's just bring you back on again. So give us a little bit about what you do at Astute Law, how you help people listening who might also need help with employment legal issues right now that they're facing. Take it away for us, Tosh.
In a sentence, Andrew, we help employees protect their businesses and employees protect their rights. And what that really means is for the last 12 years, we've been just unraveling difficult problems in the workplace. So for, when I started the business 12 years ago, I Googled the top 10 things people hate about lawyers. There were 11.
There were 11.
And all you have to do is just flip those things in every interaction with your clients. Give a damn. Everything isn't about the money. Fees. People are worried about fees speaking to a lawyer. So do fixed prices. So everybody knows up front what the cost is going to be. There's no surprises. Don't speak in legal jargon. Don't just care about the situation, own the problem for them. They're struggling with stressful situations, whether you're the employer or the employee. So it's fixed price solutions. Employees, it tends to be getting them out of a nightmare situation, maybe for 6 to 12 months pay. Employers, it tends to be resolving either toxic employee situations and moving them along, or other making other dealing with difficult situations like grievances, disciplinaries. And there is a nice way to do these things. It isn't
This
always,
way.
unfortunately, the whole system is set up for if things go to court.
Yeah.
Well, don't let it go to court.
Yeah. Walk
Just
a
listen
mile
to
with
me.
the person in their shoes before you go to court, right?
You've got it
Yeah.
in one.
Yeah.
It really is. And I'm not talking about some tree hugging approach or anything like that. I'm just talking about a human approach to deal with things so people just get what they want in the right way.
I like
So,
that.
so that's pretty much, I hope that kind of covers it.
Oh,
One of the things I said I wanted to give Andrew here was, we offer an hour's free consultation to just
yeah,
give
let me
you a
get that for you.
blueprint roadmap to whatever
Is it that,
problems you've
Tosh?
got.
Is that it?
That's the one. That's the one. And please use it. There's no obligation on there. And what we promise is, if you've got a situation, we'll tell you how you need to resolve it, and then we can help you with it. Or if you don't, at least you don't waste any more time with it. But it's completely free, and it's with an expert solicitor who's been, we've been dealing with these feet for more than 2 decades, and it's not from some ivory tower textbook. It's from rolling up our sleeves and working in the trenches for over 25 years. So, please do use that. There are experts here like myself that really enjoy helping people out of whatever challenging situations they've got.
Yeah, and the key thing here is, Tosh, because you give a damn, right? And a little
Yeah.
consultation just to kind of get the handle on it, and perhaps that might be the answer that they need. I love the way you talked about simple language, get rid of the jargon, make it easy for people to understand what are their next steps, which is presumably what that consultation call will do for people. Yeah, give a human approach. I love the way you've put that, and there's no other lawyers doing that, in terms of the human approach that I've seen. So fantastic. I'm sure there are, but this is Tosh's answer to that. So thank you, Tosh. And also, just while we let me just get the right scene up again. Just bear with me. Secondly, Tosh, share with us, during this executive briefing, one of the kind of hot, relevant legal topics for business leaders right now, Tosh.
So it's really doom and gloom a little bit. You hear a lot of things in the news. The winter is coming, very Game of Thrones. The recession is coming. What does that normally mean? That normally means redundancies, those sorts of things. It's tough for employees and employers. A lot of people think it's not tough for employers. They base it on the P&O Ferries kind of approach. Just completely inhuman. Pulling the rug from everybody's feet. After 30 years of service, ridiculous.
Yeah.
There's a way to do things.
A way to do things.
So I guess what I'm saying is if you are somebody that is looking at a redundancy situation, whether you're an employer or an employee, make sure it's done right. Make sure it's done in the right way. There are consequences for not getting it done the right way. Can be up to nearly £93,000 if you get it wrong.
Ouch.
And it isn't difficult to get it right. This is not a clever, tricky way of getting people out. These are genuine redundancy situations that just require a grown-up conversation. And actually, sometimes that grown-up conversation means, and this is very unlawyer-like advice, that you don't even need to go through the full procedures, because you can just have a grown-up conversation with that person, let them know what's involved, and it shortcuts it for everybody. So the employers don't have to have those difficult situations where managers are telling people they've worked with for ages that they're being made redundant, and employees are thinking about, gosh, what am I going to do now? I've got kids to feed, I've got mortgages, I've got bills. Well, actually, part of the redundancy process can be what we talked about earlier. Let's help you move along. Let's get you in touch with some recruitment agents. Let's get you in touch with a career transition specialist if you want to change what you're doing. There's lots of ways to help. It's not the end. It's just turning a new page.
Yeah, I really like that. And again, that's all about conversation control to get the best out of that human being, right, in that tricky situation.
Correct.
I love the way you said that. Thank you. And there's a quick question here from Graham Rose, actually. This was earlier on, which I picked up. So thanks, Graham. For Tosh and Astute Law, the Astute Law section, I would love to know his take on the fallout. Here's one for you. This is going to test you. The Harper Trust versus Brazil case. Do you know anything about that?
I could, but I'd have to charge you counsel's fee. I'm just kidding. I'm going to get my glasses on now. I haven't been wearing my glasses because of the reflection of the screen on there, they are blue. So for those that don't know, let me just read it from here. So the trust argued that Miss Brazil's annual leave entitlement should be reduced according to the number of weeks she actually works. It's to do with a holiday claim, right?
Okay.
Otherwise, she would get unfair advantage because she would receive the same 5.6 weeks paid annual leave as someone who worked all year round. So what they're saying is part-time people get the same as full-time people, potentially. it's a slightly tricky scenario because it relates to only certain areas and certain types of professions and so forth. But the reality is, I don't agree with it. I mean, it's like the poll tax. Everybody shouldn't pay the same. That it should be based on merit and different factors involved, income and so forth. So in the same way with the holiday entitlement, absolutely, it has to be based on what hours you actually work, and then accordingly you should be paid accordingly. Obviously, that's a very easy black and white answer. What happens when you do variable hours? What happens when you're a teacher and you work only certain times in the year and then you're not working on other times of the year? What if you're a musician or in the arts, and then it's sort of on and off, and sometimes it's employed, sometimes it's not, sometimes you're a worker. So, that's where the legislation is, and nobody's getting it completely right. And these laws are there to be repealed or overturned according to whatever case law comes out. So I don't agree with that. I don't agree that we should get the same as silence doggy.
Whose dog is that?
My Barbara Woodhouse impression. Obviously the dog doesn't agree, but I do think that it's not right.
I've just seen Darlington laugh at that because I think it's his end. I'm just going to bring Darlington. Look at him laughing away there.
Yeah, because I'm looking outside the window, and this dog is looking at me, just barking wild. And I'm like, what's wrong? I'm like, what's wrong?
Brilliant.
It's crazy.
I was going to ask you what did the dog put in the chat.
Yeah, the dog.
Yeah, I'm sure he overheard us or something, and now he's just disagreeing.
Yeah, indeed. So just while we're on that, Rebecca says this: love your initial approach to marketing, Tosh. So that's my mate Rebecca. She was on the show a few weeks ago. So fantastic. Love to have you on the show. Matteo says this is a brilliant approach, Tosh. Don't let it go to court. Absolutely. Like Harvey Specter says in the legal draft. That is my favourite legal thing of all time. What does it take to go away? And I've used that actually, Harvey Specter's. Yeah. What does it take to go away? Brilliant. Yeah. Absolutely. Avoid court at all costs. So refreshing, Tosh. I've been made redundant twice. I'm sorry to hear that, Joe. And literally marched off the premises. I've experienced
absolutely
that.
No need.
Yeah.
You're not a criminal.
No. The last one, they waited until 5 p.m. That's pretty horrible.
I'm going to get a good day's full out of you, Joe. Right? Good day's work out of you first. Really well done on them.
Yeah. Talk about the humanistic approach for conversational control. Zero conversational control there. Brilliant.
Yeah, zero conversation by the sounds of it.
Yeah. And Mateus just says this: love your human approach to redundancies, Tosh. Employers that truly care about well-being should indeed help employees being made redundant to move on and find new opportunities. There we go. And Darlington, back over to you. What else is going in the chat? So sorry, you were going to say there, Tosh.
Yeah, I was going to say what Mateus was saying, that we always talk about it from the employee's perspective, understandably, because they're being made redundant. But don't forget that a lot of the employers are also human beings. Not all of them, but a lot of them are, and they're awkward conversations. They don't know how to do it. So what do? They speak to a lawyer who doesn't really know these people, and perhaps just tells them the step-by-step procedures, tick, 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 rather than having a conversation. So again, this is really useful for people. How do you have those awkward, difficult, challenging conversations?
And how do you have those? Or what hints and tips have you got about awkward conversations for us then?
Well, if we were talking about redundancy specifically, Andrew, what if I come to you and I explain that it's not about you? In the sense that, look, it's a part of my language. It's a shitty circumstance.
Oh, a technical term, shitty. Yeah, get that.
Yeah, shitty. Yeah, you can look that up. It's under Section 1 of the Employment Rights Act.
It's spelled with an asterisk. Yes,
capital S.
Yeah.
And me making you understand that I hate doing this.
Yeah.
Because it's not right. But it's not about what is morally right in that circumstance. It is in a sense, but it's more about that we're forced to do this, and understanding your why. So the more I can make you understand why we're doing it, and it isn't anything because of what you've done or what the circumstances are, the better, right? If it's a redundancy situation. Yeah. It's a really easy conversation to have. Actually.
Really? Gosh, wow. And I guess that you need to then have, very good conversation controls to make that easy, Tosh.
Yeah, I mean, it's understanding, isn't it? Let the other person understand, and also you understanding. They're worried about what happens next. Yeah. So help them turn the page on what happens next. How are we going to help you?
Gotcha. And then it becomes easier, doesn't it? Right. How are we going to help you? Right. Okay.
Correct. It comes from here, not just from here, and definitely not from the textbook.
Yeah. Darlington, over to you, just on a few of the comments that are just coming through here for Tosh.
All right. Dr. Ian says, Tosh is the most unlawyer lawyer I know, and I mean that as a compliment. I actually agree. I actually agree.
There you go.
Says Dr. Ian was referring to Joe Cooper, says that's horrible, being made redundant at 5 p.m.
Yeah.
And she replies, says, Dr. Ian, the worst is I knew it was coming and tried to get a meeting earlier. Dr. replied and said, I got the Barbara Woodhouse voice.
Yeah, do you know what?
Nice conversation there.
Just thinking about that for a moment, Darlington, that what Joe's just said there, that's just appalling conversation control, isn't it? Look, she clearly knows what's going on, and her superiors or whoever it was that was responsible for that conversation just wouldn't let her have it until the appropriate time. That's pretty awful, isn't it? What say you, Tosh?
They don't know how to handle it. They don't know how to have the conversation.
Exactly.
So what do? They just put the shutters down.
And
then it will just go away, and you never have to see that person again.
Yeah, you never see.
And if I put it out of my mind, I don't have to think about it again. But these little things kind of something a little bit dies every single time inside when you do something like that. It doesn't go away, does it? So
no, it doesn't. Yeah. Okay, carry on, Tosh. Thank you. Carry on, Darlington.
All right. We have Matthias says, Dr. Ian says, I agree. Being laid off or redundant on a Friday is not ideal either.
No.
And then we also have Cecil says, love your approach, Tosh, offering solution and assistance to clients losing their work. And thank you for being human. The world is so in need of it in all working fields. Absolutely, I agree with this one. I love the human touch to everything about Tosh. I love it. And then we also have Dr. Ian says, you say there's one more Tosh appreciation. Says Tosh is a real life Harvey Specter. Love it.
There you go. Ultimate compliment. Love that. Brilliant. Oh, fantastic.
Absolutely, I agree. This is the ultimate one. And then we have Cecil says, N Price. Yes, woohoo! We have our own Harvey Specter. Ooh la la. Then we have Sister says Spectosh.
Spectosh, very good.
Yeah.
Oh, we love it.
Very nice.
We love it.
Love that one also. Then we have Dr. N says easy in the right hands. Then we also have Laurie says most people get that redundancy isn't personal unless it's badly handled. Then it really feels personal.
Yeah, just like Joe had there. Then it feels spot on. And actually, in fact, good conversational control makes it more than it's going to be personal, right? But there's a way of handling it, Tosh.
Yeah, I'm not going to hear about the good conversations, right? There's no problem then. It's only when it's been badly handled that they come to somebody like me.
Oh, of course. Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah. And Matthias just finishes that off, doesn't he?
And then we have Matthias says, at Laurie Hells, that's a perfect way of explaining the problem. It's all about doing it in human, fairly explained way.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, brilliant. And and actually, when people have got problems, is spending time to understand what the problem really is, right, Tosh? We jump to solutions mode really quickly. Particularly with even with the redundancy. The solution is we just need to go through the process and then we're done, and then we wash our hands of it and we're all sorted. But actually, there's what about the other person? How are they feeling? And actually, just spending time on working through those, which is, the whole thing about problems and solutions, right? Which is another context to conversational control. How do we spend time just understanding where people are coming from, what the real problem is, and uncovering that. And maybe you'll have a conversation before you get to redundancy, who knows,
yes.
Or a sacking at least, I suppose, in that respect.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Listen, we could go on forever and ever, but we're coming to an end now. So what's your single greatest tip for us? What's a great single Spectre Tosh tip for us this morning then, Tosh?
I think it's a shame we didn't get to talk about the jelly effect.
Oh yeah, give us a quick nod on the jelly effect.
Well, the jelly effect is a book by a guy called Andy Bounds.
Yeah.
It's about effective communication. It's put in the context of sales effectively.
Yeah.
And what he talks about is most people don't focus on the afters, which means people don't care what you do, they care what you do for them. What are you left with after you've worked with them? What are they left with? Your clients, whoever you're engaging with. And when you do things backwards in that way, focus on the afters first, and then what you need to do to lead up to the afters, that is the best way to communicate to people, right? Whether you're in sales, whether you're in negotiations, or this is where we're going to get to. So this is what I want to get to. So this is what I'm seeing in terms of getting you there. There's no surprise at the end. So
Okay.
conversation should be that sort of structure as well, is what I was going to talk about. The jelly effect by Andy Bounds.
Okay.
The number one, certainly the number one approach for me, it's going to go back to Stephen Covey. Seek to understand before you seek to be understood. Know what you're dealing with first. Then you have all the information to handle it in the best possible way, rather than there being some surprises. So let that person talk, find out what the problem is, find out what the issue is, and that's the best way to start going towards the outcome you're looking for.
Yeah, lovely.
Listen
I like
deep.
that. Great tip. Yeah. So think with the afters in mind. And I think that comes very similar to a summary that I would have probably said here, which is about summarizing, right? Use the skill of summarizing in conversation so people know where they're at. This is what we've said so far. This is where we're heading. This is what we're going to do next. And actually the thing you just said there fits into that summary really nicely, doesn't it? Look, summarize where we're heading, and then I'll show you the steps on how we're going to get there.
Kind of begin with the end in mind. That's another Stephen Covey in mind.
Yeah, I mean, they're both brilliant books. The Jelly Effect, we'll try and find the links for those. Darlington will pop those in a moment. 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, absolutely game-changing book, written quite some decades ago. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant book. Thank you, Tosh, and thank you for your just a brilliant how that seamlessly all worked with legal issues and conversational control, and how to get the best out of being a human being, which means you don't have to call Tosh at all. I just love the way you did that.
Without going to court, at least.
Exactly, without going to court, at least. So we're going to wrap up in a few minutes, just very briefly. But just before we do, I just want to just briefly talk a little bit about what's coming up next on the show, folks. So we're going to have the Goosh on what's next week, and I'm just going to come to that now. And thanks again, Tosh, for enlightening us today with extraordinary conversations. We've loved having you on the show, my friend. And this show will be on, thank you. And this show will be on podcast too, peeps. So look out for that in the next 24, 48 hours. Please also link onto our Leaders Live group and keep the conversation moving there, and follow us through our Leaders Live company page as well. And remember, folks, to subscribe to our YouTube as well. And Darlington will put all the links in the comments in a moment. And before we get on to what's on next week, quick reminder that Leaders Live is a free edutainment show for leaders, directors, managers, entrepreneurs who are interested in business growth through edutainment and enjoying taking part in interactive conversations, just like we've done today. Interactive conversations, just like we've done today. So there's the links in the feed. So thank you very much, Darlington. And together in this community, we aim to make the world better, folks, and we want to bring a spirit of freedom, of joy, of fun, and that whole feel-good factor to our working lives. So that's just a little bit about what we do. Quick CTA about what I do commercially, just if you're interested. So I run a team leadership and development consultancy called PDX, folks, and please contact me if you need any help with your business to develop effective leadership, sales and operations teams, so your people can operate at their very best and run successful, profitable businesses, folks. So I do that through a set of specialized development programs like high performance teamwork, which is one of my big programs, executive and team coaching, and NLP for business diplomas, and a whole lot more. So that's a little bit about me. And the Goosh for next week, folks, let me just bring that back up again. Where's the Andrew scene? Bear with me. So the Goosh for next week, we will, on Tuesday at 8:45 a.m. next week, we'll be hanging out with Dr. Julian Nesbitt, CEO of the Dr. Julian Medical Group. He was on our Get to Know You 5 slot a few weeks ago, and we'll pick up on his theme of his brand new awesome mobile and web application named Dr. Julian, and dedicated to improve accessibility and standards for mental health care in the UK. Absolutely necessary. And we talk a lot about that unapologetically on this show, mental health, etc. So it's a hot topic, and we've got a lot to talk about on that show. Vital subject for today. This and a whole lot more. We can't wait. Be there or be square. So that's a wrap, folks. Thank you very much. And we'll be in the Discord room next. We're going to hop over to the Discord room. So please feel free if you've got a login for that. If not, please email me or WhatsApp me, and I'll give you a link to the Discord group where you can meet us after the show. And we top and tail the show every week in that way. So that's a wrap, folks, and it's been great to hang out with you all today, folks, and turn the volume down a bit. Thanks very much for being part of this fantastic, awesome show and creating such a great, fantastic, awesome community vibe. I think it's the best in the universe, and we can't do this without you, folks. So Podcast will be available shortly too when Darlington gets around to that. There's no load shedding today. And in the meantime, that's a wrap, folks. So from our hangout guest, Tosh, from me, and from fantastic sponsor, Darlington, our moderator, and our sponsors, Your DMS. Have a great week ahead. Cheers for now, and good bop out to the intro music. See you again all next week. Ta-ra a bit. Cheers for now. Bye-bye.